What happened in 325 AD in the Nicaea conference?
Can you answer the
What
question?
happened in 325 AD in the
We'll
Nicaea
do a
conference?
question for a question. I'll
I'm
answer
not.
one of
I'm
yours,
talking to you.
answer
I'm not
one
asking.
of
I'm talking to you.
Never.
I'm Big
I'm
Daddy.
talking to you as well.
I'm Big Daddy.
Okay, if we're going to interrupt each other, you boys can go have fun. Let me just finish my point right here. My point.
Hold on, don't assume my gender.
Oh yeah, you assumed our genders. Not very progressive. Watch all the Muslims become triggered.
Okay.
Yes, come on. Because if I was to say that we should pass laws in England that said that the life of a Muslim was worth less than the life of a Christian, every one of these Muslims, to a man and woman, would be calling that Islamophobia. I'm against killing LGBT anywhere in the world. Let me ask you, are you against the idea of killing Muslims who want to become Christian?
Abdul the what? The slanderer.
I called him Abdul. He calls me Bob the liar. I call him Abdul the slanderer.
Ah, okay. The slanderer.
Debate me on one supposed lie. One lie, I challenge you.
Yeah, one. Well, only one.
I dare you to debate me on one lie. One lie.
All right, so don't come.
Come and,
If you wanna ask, if you wanna expose him, you can expose him. You're not asking to me. You're not gonna ask him to delete anything. Yeah? You're not gonna ask him to delete anything.
no, we're not deleting anything.
You understand what I said? You understand what I said? Yeah? You don't need nothing. Go away. Go away.
No, you can't, bro. You can't go onto other people's cameras, yeah? Then come and film me.
What's the problem? You're filming him, I'm filming you. What's the problem? You're filming him, I'm filming you. What's the problem?
Everyone, no. You can't touch other people's cameras, bro. But this is Speaker's Corner. Everybody films everybody. The reason why, yeah, but the point is, even if I asked you, A, you would ignore me, and B, you would have every right to ignore me. You would have every right to ignore me. Everyone who comes to this corner gets filmed. You know that. So stop whinging. Right, well, don't debate then. That's fine. But what I'm saying is, you can't start touching other people's property. You don't have the right to touch other people's property. No, he has, but that's the point. That's what you're wrong. He does have the right to film you. Because this is Speaker's Corner, it's a public space. If you think he's broke the law, there's two police officers over there, go and take it up with them.
Okay, go on.
Yeah?
Can you waste that time here?
He's touching his property. Don't bite, guys. Don't bite, guys. Yeah? You just gotta leave other people's stuff alone. Yeah, let's while it down. Let's while it down. It's all right, bro. Thank you. All right. I'm all right. Thanks be to God. How are you? Good to see you. So, guys.
What's going on, Bob? Welcome back, Bob.
I want to talk about the BLM.
All right.
Black Lives Matter. The protests and the movement.
Yeah.
The protests and the party. However, I want to start off by just saying that what I'm going to do is I'm going to put out 10 theses.
Okay.
If you hear a thesis that you object to, if you hear a thesis that you want to discuss or debate or ask a question on, just remember the number. That's all you need to do.
Okay.
And then I'm going to invite you to come and have a discussion about that thesis, whether you agree with it or disagree with it.
Okay.
I want to start off, it's a very windy day, as you could probably see and hear, but I want to start off by reading from Isaiah 59, 16 to 20.
All right.
And it reads, "And he saw that there was no man, and was astonished that there was no one to intercede. Then his own arm brought salvation, and his righteousness upheld him. He put on righteousness like a breastplate, and a helmet of salvation on his head, and he put on garments of vengeance for clothing, and wrapped himself with zeal as a mantle. According to their deeds, so he will repay, Wrath to his adversaries, recompense to his enemies. To the coastlands he will make recompense. So they will fear the name of Yahweh from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. For he will come like a rushing stream, which the wind of Yahweh drives. A Redeemer will come to Zion, and to those who turn from transgressions in Jacob, declares Yahweh. I want to start off by saying, in terms of the BLM, and in terms of the kind of discussion that we're talking about, that as Christians, we do believe in institutional sin. Now, some Christians, particularly those who are influenced by conservative political ideology or Republican political ideology, may object to the idea of something like institutional sin. However, I would say to you, if you're someone who objects to that, do you consider an organisation like Planned Parenthood to be institutionally sinful?
No.
Planned Parenthood is an organisation that carries out abortions.
Ooh.
Do you consider the Communist Party to be organisationally and institutionally sinful? Do you consider an Islamic caliphate to be institutionally sinful?
Yeah, that's a good question.
You see, if as Christians we are willing to say that the Communist Party is sinful, that Planned Parenthood is sinful, that the caliphate is sinful, then we have to be open to the idea that institutions can and are sinful. And that means if we accept that racism is a sin, then we can accept that institutions can be racist. That is thesis number one.
Alright.
Thesis number two.
Number two.
The fact that institutions can be racist does not excuse anyone from personal responsibility. It is not the case that institutional sin legitimizes or excuses personal responsibility. And many of the struggles of black and ethnic communities, as well as the white working class, has actually nothing to do with institutional sin and has actually more to do with personal responsibility. Family breakdown is about personal responsibility. Absentee fathers are personal responsibility. Failures to do well at school is as much connected to institutional problems as it is connected to the problems of personal responsibility. Joining a gang is a personal choice, that is personal responsibility. Knife crime is connected to personal responsibility. That is thesis number two. So, the consequences of sin can be inherited. They can pass on from one generation to the next. Some Christians who have bought into Republican or right-wing ideology are opposed to the idea that sin has a generational consequence. However,
I would ask them to consider the sin of our All-Father Adam and our All-Mother Eve and the consequences that that has bore upon the entire human race. I would ask you to consider the Tower of Babel and the fact that the human species was separated by God by their languages because of sin, a consequence we still live with. I would ask you, therefore, to accept the possibility that slavery has a generational consequence and that black Americans particularly are living with that consequence. And it is an injustice that needs to be corrected. That is thesis number 3. And just a reminder for anyone who's new, if you want to debate any thesis you hear, just remember the number, and at the end of the 10th thesis, you'll be invited to discuss.
All right.
Thesis number 4.
Number 4.
It is not sufficient to accuse something or someone of racism, and that proves that they are racist. It is a category mistake, because often the problems that the BME community face, along with the white working class, is connected to poverty, not racism. And that is particularly true in England, where we don't have an entire community of people that have been settled here as a direct consequence of slavery. It is simply the transference of a narrative from America by the power of the media into the UK that has influenced many people. You have to prove it. Statues and memorials are not racist. Winston Churchill is not commemorated by a statue because of any views that may have been considered racist. He is being honoured by society because he was the leader that fought against Nazism, a racist ideology. The statue of Cecil Rhodes was not put up to commemorate him as a racist. It was put up because he was a significant figure in British history. I accept that he was probably a racist, but that is not the reason why the statue was put up. He is not being honoured for that reason. It is therefore not sufficient to say that because such and such a person held a view that may be racist, that justifies public vandalism and mobbery. What it may do is mean that we need to have a debate about some of these statues. What I'm inviting people to do is to remember the thesis that they disagree with and then debate them after all 10 have been stated. That was thesis number 4. Thesis number 5. Racism is a sin for a Christian. And we believe this because we believe that all human beings are descended from the same origin. And all human beings are imbued with the image of God. And therefore, any action or belief that denigrates the image of God within any human being is sinful. That includes racism and it includes slavery. It is an injustice and the church must fight against it. Again, for those of you who are not listening, after the 10 theses have been stated, you're invited to debate the thesis you want to. That was thesis number 5. Pay attention. Thesis number 6. The Black Lives Matter protest movement is not a singular movement, nor do they have a singular agenda. Some of those agendas, such as the fight against racism, Christians should support. But some of those agendas have nothing to do with racism, and they are more to do with liberal, progressive and Marxist ideologies that Christians cannot support, such as anarchy, such as communist economic systems, such as the liberation and the changing of the law to reflect the lesbian, gay, bisexual and transsexual agenda. Christians cannot support those beliefs. Thesis number 7. Attacks against the cenotaph are badly judged, harmful and make enemies of people that would otherwise be allies. When the BLM protests attacked the cenotaph, they were attacking a monument to the war dead of every family in England, as well as families right across the Commonwealth. People came together to fight against Nazism, a racist ideology, assaulting the cenotaph, burning the flag of the cenotaph, graffitiing the cenotaph is an abuse of the honour, the culture and the identity of many British people who are against racism. And it cannot be justified, and the failure of the police to protect it brought shame upon the Metropolitan Police. Thesis number 8. Media representation of the multiple protests, both those by veterans and their allies who sought to defend those monuments, and by the BLM, were equally violent. However, the media downplayed the violence of the BLM protests while magnifying and raising as high the violence carried out by veterans and their supporters. Media representation of those protests were deceitful. Thesis number 9. The church should respond as Christians to these issues. We should not fall in with communists. We should not fall in with anarchists, nor should we fall in with white supremacists. We should speak as Christians against all parties seeking to steer them in a Christian direction, from a Christian viewpoint, opposing where we need to those groups that need to be opposed. Thesis number 10 is more of a challenge than it is a thesis, and it is directly to my Christian brothers and sisters who joined the protests on either side. If you can protest to defend monuments from abuse, if you can protest against institutional racism, why can you not protest for the persecuted church, for the Christians in Pakistan who have their churches bombed, for the Christians in Egypt who have their churches bombed, for the Christians of Syria and Iraq who have faced an attempt at religious genocide? Why can you not protest for the Christians of Nigeria who are suffering in a campaign of mass murder? Why can you not protest for the Christians of Central African Republic who are fighting against jihadis? Why can you not protest against the slave trade, the Islamic slave trade that is carried out in Sudan, in North Africa and across the Arab world? If you can protest, then protest for Christians in solidarity for them. Thank you for your time. You've heard the 10 theses. Now I'll take questions. Now's the opportunity for debate.
Questions. Hey. Any questions? No questions?
That's fine. I'll go on to my next topic.
No questions at all? I thought you had a question, but he's gone now. Ah, the atheist. He's gone. Alright, cool. Right, Bob.
Some people want to heckle, but they don't want to debate.
Yeah.
I always won.
One God.
So, ladies and gentlemen,
Bob.
what we're facing today is the fact that the right wing of politics are able to win elections, but they are losing the debate in the public sphere.
Okay.
They're losing the cultural war. Now, everybody who knows me knows that I don't fall into right or left wing politics. But I want to explain why we have a situation that the Conservatives are winning election after election, and yet conservative values are disappearing and being criminalised in the public sphere. And there are multiple reasons. The first reason is that we do not accept that the way people are formed within society is through education, through the media, through government legislation, the law, through public discourse like this, and through activism on the street. Those who stand for traditional values need to learn to play chess. They need to learn how to win the battle on the street. Because all too often, what we do is nothing. We sit at home and we complain at the TV. We complain, but we are not activists. The left wing are busy breaking all their own rules. They will say you can't be prejudiced about who you promote in a company. But if you hold traditional views and they become known in your workplace, I guarantee there is a chance that you're not going to get promoted.
That's the hard facts, Bob.
It is time that those of us who hold to traditional values play by the rules that the left-wing progressives are playing by. The left-wing progressives have targeted and taken over the media. We need to find a way to counter that by defunding the BBC,
Yeah.
by cancelling the TV licence,
Yes.
by supporting right-wing, conservative or traditional alternatives
Alright.
that are more sympathetic to a Christian worldview, so long as they are not opposed to a Christian worldview. It means that we have to protest, but protest intelligently, campaign, but campaign intelligently.
Give us an example, Bob.
So I'll give you an example.
Alright.
Christians need to win for themselves the right to observe the Sabbath. We need to campaign that the blessings of the Sabbath be something that everyone can benefit from. Something that every worker can have a day of rest when they know that all their family and friends have that same day of rest. Christians need to fight for the right to pray outside of abortion clinics.
Yes.
We need to fight for the right to practice our own faith. We need to speak up for Christians who are being persecuted in Pakistan and Nigeria and India and Indonesia, Somalia. We need to involve people in our causes who are not Christian. We need to have a culture that celebrates the family and creates families amongst our fellowships. Because we're not doing that. And there's too many single people in the churches. And it is the failure of our leaders. We need to campaign against heretical bishops who do not believe in the Christian faith and who are simply using the church as an NGO for their humanist ideologies. Christians need to train. Christians need to organize. Christians need to unite. Christians need to mobilize. Christians need to resist. But you do that by letting go of your denominational nonsense.
Yes. Yes. Amen, amen.
Because the kingdom of God is not served by sectarianism. Christians, there are a gulf of people who have traditional values, red-pilled conservatives who would make natural allies of a Christian cause. Make allies with them. Drag them away from the ethno-nationalists. Separate them from the racists and push the racists out of the camp. By owning the causes of the traditional conservative. Be activists for traditional values, for the defense of the family, for education that is not indoctrination. Right now, the progressives are running rampant through the education system. Campaign that your child should not be forced to eat halal meat.
Yeah. No.
Campaign that halal meat should be clearly labelled so that those that want halal meat can have halal meat and those that don't want halal meat can avoid halal meat.
Yeah.
Campaign that your children not be taught values of the LGBTQ T plus XYZ agenda.
Ooh, yeah.
We are Christians. Our children do not belong to the state. Stand up against abortion.
Yes.
Christians, own the fight against racism, but own that fight from a Christian narrative. Stand up to the BNP, but as Christians. Stand up to the communists as Christians. We have to unite, we have to train, we have to organize, we have to mobilize, and we have to resist. Because the kingdom of God is about justice.
Yes.
And I want to close this out by quoting a passage of scripture.
Go on, Bob. No, yeah.
In Amos 5:24, we read,
Go on, Bob.
Amos 5:24, we read,
Go on, Bob.
this is the word of our God.
Praise the Lord.
But let justice roll down like waters, and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. If we as Christians are not about fighting for justice, then we are not true disciples of our Lord Jesus Christ. And that means we have to oppose all forms of injustice. That means we oppose the racists, the communists, the Islamists, the Caliphates, the capitalists. As Christians, we speak. No, bro, I'm not debating.
Wait.
I'm just asking one question.
Okay, let me finish.
Leave.
As Christians, this is our cause. As we are reminded to fight valiantly under the banner of Christ against sin, the world, and the devil. Okay, question.
Amen.
Yaya always loves the camera. He always loves to be in front of the camera.
That's why now I have my own channel, so I can go on the camera whenever I like.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, my
What's your
question,
on the point?
my question, you're talking about justice.
Yes.
Is
What's
the
the justice?
father, is the father just with the son to take his blood to forgive the sinner? Is the father just with the son to accept the innocent blood of the son to forgive the sinner?
Okay, that's your question.
Yeah.
Right. The question was totally off topic
He was, yes.
and not related to anything that I said.
Nothing.
Justice.
No, bro, you've asked your
Wait,
question.
let-
But let's talk about justice in Islam.
Alright.
Answer
Because-
first. Answer first.
Because these are the kinds of things that Islam teaches.
Okay.
Islam teaches that you can still own a slave today.
Wow.
Islam teaches that the blood of a Christian is valued at less than the blood of a Muslim.
Wow.
This is wrong.
Islam teaches
Yeah.
that a man can marry 4 women,
Wow.
but a woman can't marry 4 men. Islam teaches that the testimony of a woman
Yeah.
is worth half that of a man in court
Why?
because they're mentally deficient according to Muhammad.
Wow.
Islam teaches that Christians and Jews
Yeah.
should be treated as dhimmis, as second-class citizens in an Islamic state.
Wow.
I will not take lectures from a Muslim about justice. I will not take lectures from a Muslim about justice.
Exactly.
Yeah, right, Bob.
Exactly.
Furthermore,
Furthermore, okay.
Alright.
Islam does not believe
Yeah.
in original sin.
Okay.
So it does not believe in the idea that sins can be inherited or passed on. So what the hell are they doing joining in with a narrative that depends on exactly that perspective?
That's a good question.
Christians can join into that. No, bro, you go find your own camera. You've asked your question.
You didn't answer my question.
I said
Yeah,
that I
you
would not
already-
take lectures
you talk-
from a Muslim
You talk about, the
about
Muslim,
justice.
You
Yeah,
talk
he said
about
that, he said that,
Muslim
he said
and
that,
you
he said
rely on the innocent blood to have your salvation. Where's the justice between,
he was killed-
between your God?
Okay, listen.
If he was killed,
Yeah.
Yeah.
according to Sharia law,
Yeah.
is the money that's paid for his blood money less than what would be paid for you if you were killed?
Why you
Answer the question.
Okay, I answer the question.
Go and answer it.
You say that Islam is false, Quran is false, Prophet is false. So come to your Christianity, can you just justify the death of the innocent son and the father accepting the blood of the innocent to forgive the sinner? This is the question.
Answer! You mean answer the question, Yahya! Answer, Yahya!
He didn't answer my question.
That wasn't the question. That was
Okay, he didn't answer the question.
nothing.
I'll answer it for him
Yeah.
using his own holy book.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Surah 2,
Yeah.
Ayah 178.
Ah, okay.
Now, if you are a Christian
Yeah.
or a Jew, I want you to remember this is what the Muslims want to have applied to you
Oh, okay.
if they believe in the Quran. Now, let's be honest, there are lots of good Muslims.
Yeah.
They are better than their book because they are better than their prophet.
Yes.
However,
Yeah.
let's just look at what Muhammad said,
Ah, okay.
that Allah said,
Well, okay. I know. You tell me God.
talking about blood money.
Okay.
For those of you that don't know,
Yeah.
blood money is the compensation paid when you kill someone.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Yes, we got it.
Good. This is what it says.
Bob.
O you who believe.
All right.
So that's the Muslims.
Okay.
The law of qisas is prescribed for you in case of murder. The free for the free, the slave for the slave, the female for the female. But if the killer is forgiven by the brother of the killed against blood money, so in other words, you pay blood money instead of having a life for a life.
Okay.
Is it that in Torah?
Listen.
Eye for an eye.
Listen.
Tooth for a tooth.
Listen.
Then adhering it with fairness and payment of blood money to the heir should be made in fairness. This is an alleviation and a mercy from your Lord. So after this, whoever transgresses the limits, the killer, he shall have a painful torment. Now, when you look up the hadiths and the practice of Sharia law, go and check it right now on Google.
Yeah, check
In
it.
Saudi Arabia, a place where Islam has dominated for 1400 years, the blood money for a Christian man is half that of a Muslim man.
Whoa. Boo.
However, as an insult to every Muslim woman,
Okay.
the blood of a Christian man is equal to a Muslim woman.
Whoa.
But the blood money for a Christian woman
Yeah.
is half that of a Muslim woman.
Wow.
So what are they saying in Sharia law? They are saying that the lives of Christians are half the value of the lives of Muslims. That is what Sharia law teaches.
Yeah. Defend
So
that.
answer it, please.
Answer that, please. Don't go to the Trinity.
I'm not going to the Trinity. I come back to my original question, which
No. Answer that. Answer that hadith.
you avoid to answer.
Blood money.
Is the father
Answer about the blood money.
just with his son? If you can answer me, I will answer all your questions.
Okay,
He told
so ladies and gentlemen, I invite
I am
you.
wasting my time.
I invite you.
Okay.
I invite you.
I'm wasting my time. He's
Is
not
there
answering.
anyone that wants, who is a Christian,
Yeah.
who wants to say that the life of Yahya is worth half my life? Put your hand up.
No.
Right. Now, according to Islam,
Yeah.
my life is worth half of his. Put your hand up if you think that is unjust.
I will answer on
Do
the
you
comment
think that is
section.
unjust?
I will answer on the comment section.
Now let me ask you this question. As Christians, are we not called to fight against injustice?
Yes.
Does that not mean as Christians we are called to fight against Sharia law?
Yes.
Does that not mean as Christians we are called to fight against Islamification.
Yes.
Does that not mean, as Christians, we are called to fight against the teachings of this book?
Yes.
I ask you, is there any Muslim who is willing to defend, or you, Yahya, willing to defend the Islamic practice that my life is valued as half that of yours in Sharia law?
Answer that. Answer that, please.
Let me answer.
Yes.
If, for the sake of argument, I admit and agree with you that Islam, Quran, God and Prophet are false, how can I trust a father who forsake and betrayed his son and accept his innocent blood to forgive the sinner? This is my question. This is my challenge. This is my challenge. This is my challenge. Or answer.
Do you
or
notice?
decline.
Yahya is embarrassed by his prophet. He is embarrassed by 1400 years of Islamic practice.
Wow.
Not at all. Not at all. Not at
Islam
all.
teaches that the blood money for a Christian
Islam
is
teaches-
half that of a Muslim.
Yes.
Islam
So if you
teaches-
pay £50,000 if
Islam
you kill a
teaches-
Muslim, you only have to pay 25,000 if you kill a Christian.
Islam
How is
teaches,
that not an apartheid system?
As Muslim,
How is
Islam
that
teach-
not like
a Muslim-
the apartheid in America and South Africa? Islam teaches
He's shouting. He's
that
shouting.
a Christian
He doesn't-
woman
he doesn't want
can
discussion.
marry a Muslim man,
I'm not coming to
but a
argue.
Christian man cannot marry a Muslim woman. How is that not unfair on Muslim women? How is that not unfair
Are you a Muslim
on
woman?
Christian
Are you a
men?
Muslim woman?
Do I look like a Muslim? Do I look like one? Do you see them? Do you see the mockery?
That's how they go.
No answers,
No answer.
mockery.
That's it.
just mockery.
The mockery.
Do you agree with the idea? Let me ask him.
Yeah, ask him.
Let me ask you.
Why don't he
Do
answer
you
before
agree
he
with the idea that a Christian man cannot marry a Muslim woman even if they want to marry?
Simple answer. I believe in God's law. I don't care what you say.
So, I think that was, yes,
Oh, you
I
were right.
agree
Oh, yeah. Last week. Yeah,
with
yeah.
the apartheid system of Islam. He
That's it,
agrees
that's
with the
coming.
apartheid system.
we Muslim, we
He
Muslim.
agrees.
Let me answer
Let me
you.
ask you another
Let me
question.
answer
I'm
you.
not talking to you. I'm
ahead.
talking
No,
to
no,
you.
let me answer you.
Let me ask you another
Let me answer
question.
you. He doesn't
Let me
want.
ask you another question.
He doesn't.
Let me ask you another question.
He don't want to.
Do you
answer.
agree?
Fire away. Fire away.
Do you agree
What a
that the life
What
of
a
a
joke you
Christian,
are.
like
What a
for
joke
me and
you
you,
are.
man to man,
yeah. What a joke.
in
man.
Islamic
he
law,
consider himself
is
man.
considered to be
He
half
doesn't
the
answer the
value
question.
I tell
for
you
a
what.
Christian
Let's
as
talk
opposed
about
to a
let's
Muslim.
talk about Christian law instead.
No, how about that? No,
Yeah.
don't talk about the Christian
about
law.
that?
Notice, he's changing the
I don't
topic.
have to stand here.
Do you want to hear him answer my question?
Yeah.
We want
Ask
to
it
hear
again,
your
ask it again, Bob.
answer.
Can I speak now?
Answer the question.
Can
yeah.
I speak?
Yeah.
First of all, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I don't have to justify anything in my religion. You are no one to me. Yeah? Do you understand? It's my religion. It's God's law. Wait there. I'm happy.
So
with
he
it.
agrees with
so,
it.
So who the hell
He
are you
agrees.
to ask me about my
Right,
religion?
now watch this, ladies and gentlemen.
Bob, Bob.
Watch all the Muslims become triggered.
Okay.
Yes, come on.
Because if I was to say that we should pass laws in England that said that the life of a Muslim was worth less than the life of a Christian, every one of these Muslims, to a man and woman, would be calling that Islamophobia. That's what they would be doing.
As a Muslim,
But yet they
As
are
a Muslim-
defending
Hello.
Sharia law
Hello.
that says exactly the same, but in reverse.
stop shouting and let me answer.
That's it. Hadouken.
We as a Muslim, we are not allowed to take any innocent life and destroy it. We are
But
not
when you
allowed to
do,
take.
what's the compensation?
The compensation is equal because the nafas is equal to
Unless
everybody.
there are,
Thank you.
unless there are,
So,
unless
There's no
there are
unless, there's no
Christian
exception.
or
There's no
a
exception.
Jew or a Hindu.
Bring me a verse from the Quran which say
I will tell you.
a life of the Christian
will tell you.
worth less than anybody else.
I will tell you.
Otherwise, you are just liar, deceiver, big mouth liar.
He says I'm a liar and I'm a deceiver.
Yeah, he said
Bring
that.
it for the
can I-
So
Quran.
let us look up
My turn.
Islamic
My turn.
practice
Bring it
as
to the
taught
Quran.
by
My
Islamic
turn,
sources.
My turn. Put it here, please. Right. Let's talk about Christian law. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about Islamic. Let's talk about
Changing
your
the
law.
subject.
Don't
Wait
worry.
a minute. Wait a minute.
Let's not change the
Wait a
subject.
minute. Let me speak.
Let's not change the subject.
Alright, go.
Hey,
go.
I let you speak.
Alright,
I let
no,
you
no,
speak.
no.
You have to let me speak now. That's only fair. Otherwise, I go home.
But
You
you can go,
understand?
but say
Right then. Right now, I'm staying until you listen to me. All right. So, when Omar, the Caliph Omar, entered Jerusalem, Jerusalem was run by a Christian country, a Christian king. The Jews in Jerusalem said, we don't want them, we want a Muslim ruler.
Lies.
Because he will give us our rights. If you don't believe me,
There were no Jews
Let me
in
finish.
Jerusalem
Let
at that
me-
time. They'd
let
all
me
been
finish.
expelled. He's lying.
let me finish. Let me
He's
finish.
lying.
Let me finish.
He's lying.
If you don't believe
You are
me,
a liar because the Jew always
If you-
exist in
If you don't-
Jerusalem.
If you don't believe me, look it up on Wikipedia. All right?
Okay.
You can do it right now. Look it up. Sorry, game over. Next one.
What did he
I-
prove?
Next one.
What did he prove?
Next point.
How did he repudiate
Well, you're not
anything?
even listening.
So,
What he's trying to prove. What are you trying to prove?
Bruv, you know what happened to you 2 weeks ago, man? Chill
I'm
out.
going to drink.
What happened to you
I'm
2
going
weeks
drink
ago?
water.
Okay.
What happened to you 2 weeks ago?
Guy, man.
Thank you,
Remember,
yeah.
were there and there was-
What was it?
You were having that
was
argument
that?
with that guy, man.
I had an argument with a guy.
Yeah, just
You know we're in Speaker's Corner, right? People have arguments.
Go on. No.
Right,
right,
cool.
yeah, I'm
Alright.
going to bring evidence.
Oh, evidence.
This is evidence. This is his evidence. All right. Wow, what a knowledgeable
So-
guy. He has to look on his phone for everything. Mate, everything
Okay,
I have is in my
brother,
head.
ladies and gentlemen,
Bob.
the brother has made a lot of noise.
Mr. Kolchata.
A lot of noise. Yeah, no need to touch.
Okay, all right.
I know I'm an attractive
All right,
guy, I
I
just don't
believe it.
swing that way. I just appreciate it if you don't
Hey,
flirt
hey,
with
I
me.
thought you were a Muslim woman a few minutes ago. You know what I mean?
just prefer if you don't flirt with me, thank you.
I thought you were a Muslim woman a minute
So,
ago.
I thought you was a Muslim woman.
so,
Chill out.
look at
Yeah, please speak.
Saudi Arabia
Please speak.
and how they have applied Islam. Saudi Arabia, which teaches Salafism, has created a system of law in which the compensation that is paid for the life of a Christian is half that of a Muslim. That is an apartheid system. In Islamic law, according to the Pact of Ummah, Christians are not allowed to practice their faith publicly. Am I mad? Or am I just speaking facts to which you are triggered? Am I speaking
Bro, he's telling
nonsense?
the truth and you
Is
don't
it
like
nonsense?
it. He's telling
Why
the
is it
truth and you don't
nonsense?
like it.
Why is it
telling the
nonsense?
Jazakallah.
Why is it nonsense? Why is it nonsense?
Like it.
Why is it
You
You don't like the
nonsense?
truth, bro.
Why is
for
it
that.
You don't understand,
nonsense?
you don't like it.
Why is it
Thank you.
nonsense?
All
What
you
is
do
it
insult,
nonsense?
bro.
Now notice.
Hey, you're not very
No
popular.
arguments.
You're not very popular, bro.
No arguments.
Bro, you're not very popular.
No arguments.
Happy.
Just ad hominem.
Not very popular, right?
Because they haven't got arguments.
Happy.
Because you can't justify an apartheid system on one hand while saying that you don't want an apartheid system applied to you.
Yes.
Muslims would object if we treat Muslims as Sharia law stipulates that Christians should be treated.
Have you finished?
Now, let's give some examples.
Can I speak, please?
Let's give some examples. According to the Pact of Ummah, and this was used by Muslims to justify how they treat Christians in Egypt,
Alright.
Christians could not have public displays of their faith that may offend Muslims.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't even entertain the idea.
I'm looking at my daughter right now. I'm concentrating.
So,
I got more important things in my life.
Muslims can't become Christians even if they want to. They would be executed under the apostasy laws. Imagine if the British government passed a law that said anyone who becomes a Muslim, we execute you.
Let's talk about what the Roman
Let's talk
Christians.
about.
Let's talk
Why are
about.
we pushing, bro? Why are we
Let's
pushing?
talk about.
Why are we pushing?
Let's talk
Why are we
about.
pushing?
Let's talk about
So-
what the Roman Christians
So-
did to Jewish people.
So,
Let's talk about that.
can you address those
The
points
Jews,
for me?
Yeah, the Jews.
Can you
yes,
address those
yes,
points?
Yes, I'm about to. You need to stop talking.
Okay,
now.
so let's talk about
All right,
your
stop.
justification.
Yeah, stop. First of
He's
all,
going to
stop.
give a justification.
Go on.
Have you finished?
Go on. What's your
Have you
justification?
finished?
What's your justification?
Have you finished?
What's your justification?
Have you finished?
He's being argumentative.
Have you
Hurry up.
finished?
I'm listening.
All right, let me talk now.
Hurry up.
Let me talk.
Come on.
Don't interrupt me, because that's rude. Exactly. That's rude.
Just
All right then.
hurry up.
All right, let's go back. Let's go back. Let's talk about a Christian ruler. Let's talk about a Christian state. All right. Let's talk about the Andalusian state when Isabel and Ferdinand, when they came, they took over the Andalusian caliphate. What did they do to the Christians? What did they do to the Jews and the Muslims? They slaughtered them. Yeah. Thank you. Let's talk about Hitler. He was a Christian.
No, Hitler wasn't a Christian.
Let's talk
Neo
about.
pagan.
He was a pagan.
Let me
He was a
finish.
neo-pagan.
Okay, you're
You're
not.
lying.
He was a
wasn't a
neo-pagan.
Christian.
Let me
He
finish.
believed in a- he believed in a
Let me
sect.
finish. Let me finish.
Hitler was a
Because
neo-pagan.
he wanted to manipulate
Guys,
Christianity.
if you're
to
not
use
gonna
it
let
to
me
serve his
talk,
own
then I'm gonna go.
goals.
Here's the
So he
problem.
wasn't-
If you're not gonna let me
Here's
talk,
the problem.
I'm gonna go because you're not letting me finish.
Queen
You haven't let me finish.
Catherine
You haven't let me finish.
and King
I haven't
Ferdinand
finished.
of Spain are not considered prophets.
I'm gonna go.
They are not
If you don't-
considered religious
If you
authorities.
don't let me talk,
He
I'm
is
gonna leave.
comparing two Catholic monarchs who were intolerant. He's right, they were.
Akhi, the guy
But he's
was-
comparing them to Muhammad and the Sahaba.
Okay, have you finished?
So his
Okay.
justification
If I
for
get-
the injustice in Islam
Listen,
is that 700 years later, Christians were also intolerant. What about the 700 years of Islamic intolerance
Okay.
against Christians and Jews?
If you interrupt me once more and you don't let me finish, like I've given you the courtesy.
You haven't given it, you've been interrupting all the way
Every
through.
time I've given you the
You've been
courtesy.
interrupting and you've pushed,
You're
so
doing it
don't
again.
try to present
You're
yourself
doing it again.
as some
If you
virtuous
interrupt if you interrupt me once again, I will have to leave because you're not letting me say. You're just standing here shouting away and you're not letting me talk. I'm not
I am
talking to
okay
you.
with him
I'm
leaving.
not talking to you. All right, so let me talk because that's what we're having here. We're having a discussion, yeah? All right? If you want to preach, I'll go.
So in response to
Okay,
my...
so thank you. So be quiet now.
response into my
So
issue.
if you don't mind, be quiet now.
No one's your dimmy here. No one's a dimmy, bro.
Anders Breivik was a self-proclaimed Christian missionary. He massacred 93 people 5 years ago. Why are you laughing, blood?
Because you're lying.
Why are you laughing,
You're
blood?
lying, bro.
Why are you laughing?
You're lying. You're lying.
You're laughing,
You're a
blood.
face liar, bro.
Because
You're lying. That's why. You're a liar.
Anders Breivik
You're bad.
declared himself a neo-pagan.
Right. You hear that? A neo-pagan.
A neo-pagan.
He was a neo-pagan.
Huh?
All right.
No.
Finish him off. Finish him off.
So, I think that a lot of people
You don't let me
need to do a check on their thinking. If you're going to oppose injustice, you need to
it's all right.
oppose all forms of injustice and not make special exceptions or exemptions for certain categories or ideologies. Islam is intrinsically unjust. And if you're going to... Whoa, what are you doing? What are you doing? Keep your hands off other people's property. So far you've pushed people, now you're touching other people's stuff. Yeah? So, ladies and gentlemen,
You're bad. You're bad.
the kind of hypocrisy that we see from the militant
Don't let me
left
talk.
and from the liberal progressive is that they'll stand against Islamophobia here, but they are silent against anti-Christian pogroms in Egypt and Pakistan and Nigeria and Algeria. They are opposed. They are silent. They are silent
Hear what he's saying.
about the religious genocide of Christians in Iraq.
Triggered lefty.
Come and debate me, miss.
Yeah.
What's your name?
Oh no.
Ollie.
Nice to meet you, Ollie.
Okay, so your point about, oh my god, the left here isn't going against ISIS or the militant left in Islamic countries is simply because I am not Egyptian. I do not have any control of the Egyptian government. Where I do have control as a citizen of the UK is over the UK government, the UK press. I am fighting injustices in my my country, and you talk about internal hypocrisy,
Bro, why are you
and you're going off about, militant Islam
sorry?
and militant...
Wait, he's kicking me and now he's telling me to shut my mouth.
and going against militant...
Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? No one is your dimmy
I
here.
didn't touch you, bro.
No one is your dimmy here. No one is your dimmy.
Relax yourself, bro.
Yeah? You can't take it. Step away.
My point is, if you're going to go off against militant Islam and caliphate, yes,
Let's keep it civil.
how come we're not hearing about you talking about militant Christians in Jamaica or Uganda, which are currently killing LGBT people? How about I don't hear you going off? How about I don't hear you going off about the alt-right in this country attacking mosques, burning them down, the Finsbury Park mosque attack? The fact of this country is that if you are Muslim, you are inherently, you face prejudice that you do not face as a Christian.
Prejudice.
Just because there's one Muslim man in power doesn't mean that no Muslims get oppressed against.
Okay, can I reply, Ollie?
Let me just finish my point very quickly. I'll let you finish.
By the way, bro, this is how you do an intelligent conversation.
Leave him alone.
I'm not talking about him.
I'm talking to him.
Well, I'm not interested in him. I'm debating you, so you look at
That's
me and
fine.
answer
Go
me.
on, sister.
Okay, so my point is, if you're talking about, the militant Muslim, militant Islam, how come you are silent? And I mean silent on other nations. I haven't heard you talk about terrorist Buddhists in Thailand. I haven't heard you talk at all about Malaysia, the anti-communist mafia there that slaughtered millions of people less than 10 years ago. How come when we talk about Islam in this country, whenever someone who happens to be of Muslim faith does something awful, I'm not saying all Muslims are suddenly inherently better, their faith or their race is put in front of everything. Pakistani man just X. When Joseph Fritzl does anything, is his race or if his religion put in front of that? That's my ending point.
Thank you,
So,
thank you.
thank you, Ollie. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, firstly, let's just correct the
I said
category
race
mistake.
religion.
Let's just correct the category mistake. Islam is not a race, Muslims are not a race.
Yeah, I said race or religion.
Secondly, many of you have heard me speak before. How many of you heard me speak against ethno-nationalists?
Yeah, many times.
How many of you heard me speak against communists? How many of you heard me speak against Buddhist terrorists who persecute Christians? Thank you very much. So you're wrong. You're just plain wrong. Secondly, she said this is often a left-wing excuse to why they're so selective on their issues. I can't protest against the jihadis or against the non-jihadi Muslims who are just generally persecuting Christians in Egypt and Pakistan. She snorts in derision. But I tell you, she has not even looked into this topic. Because I'm a British citizen. I'm sorry, didn't the whole BLM kick off because of something that happened in America? Wasn't that the whole reason why the BLM marches started? Because of something that happened in a different country? What hypocrisy of the left! It is simply that the left has an ideological blind spot, and the blind spot is this: we're against injustice unless the injustice is something that is emanating from what we perceive to be an ethnic minority. Perfect. That is why the young lady doesn't know about Nissa Hussain, a British Christian who had Muslims attempt to murder him in the UK. That's why the young lady doesn't know about the other examples of Christians, like Mohammed, a friend of mine, someone I know, who has been persecuted by Muslims because he became a Christian in this country. That's why the lady doesn't know or speak out against the widespread prejudice against Christians and Jews that emanates from sections of the Muslim community. Now, we have to obviously differentiate two things: the Muslim and the religion. Lots of Muslims are better than their religion. Lots of Muslims have very humanitarian ethic. They have compassion. They're good people. not to be villainized because of the crimes of a few. However, when you look at Islam as an ideology, the books and the texts, you see injustice being taught. An injustice like, for example, the blood money paid for the death of a Christian is half that of the death of a Muslim. Now, do you agree?
You didn't answer
Okay,
any of our questions.
let me
I'll answer it the next time. You reply and then I'll answer your question.
Yes, first of all, my issue with your argument here is that you were just strawmanning me and going off of whatever you want in order to prove your point. Firstly,
I was talking about the left.
Okay, great. I'm not the left. You're debating me. You're not debating this vague concept of the left you have come up with. Okay, secondly, you were talking about the Quran, I assume, and Muslim holy texts. Are you Christian? You spend a lot of your time defending Christians, yet have you actually read the Bible? The Bible, like the Quran, because this was a book written thousands of years ago in a country.
I would bet lots of money you've never read the
I
bet
went
she
to
hasn't.
Catholic school for 8 years.
Doesn't
I read it
prove
cover to
anything.
cover.
Doesn't prove anything.
Okay, let me just finish my point, please. Because you're talking about how you don't know how to debate properly. I'm trying to debate you properly.
listening to you.
Okay, my point is that in the Bible, like in the Quran, there are many cases, like when God tells the tribe of Israel, oh, you don't have enough women. Okay, just go kidnap and rape whoever you want. If you rape a woman, you have to pay her father 15 silvers in order to marry her. That's in the Old Testament. You can read it, my
50
friend.
shekel, I have it here.
It
She's
is.
right. She's right.
It is.
She's
So,
right.
okay, what's interesting here is that you are pick and choosing what you want.
Shut up, bro.
It's picking and choosing from whatever religious text you want in order to prove your point. Do I agree that there are some passages in the Quran that I personally disagree with? Yes. But the problem is, you say, oh, some Muslims are nice, some Muslims are better than them religion. But then when you go on to talk about Muslims as this vague, threatening entity.
Talked about Islam.
Islam, Muslims.
Blurring, not the same thing.
It is the same thing.
Well, the way you're talking about it, you're talking about Islam.
That's the way you're hearing it.
He wants to separate
maybe
Islam
the-
from the Muslim. He wants to separate Islam from the Muslim. The Muslim are obeyed by
Yeah,
the
we're having a
Islamic
conversation.
teaching.
Okay.
We're having a conversation.
And you
Point
are
is, you
distorting
can't-
everything.
If someone is a religious person and their religion is a huge part of their life, you can't separate them from their religion.
Thank you very
so
much.
if you're going on talking about the second largest religion in the entire world, painting up all these broad strokes, that is frankly a very prejudiced thing for you to do. And so I think you want to talk about fighting injustices. Why don't you actually listen? There are plenty of Muslims who renounce jihadis, who renounce extremists, who do that all the time. Why is it that whenever, say, in Uganda, another LGBT person is killed or beaten to death, we don't go up to every Christian and go, so you need to apologize for that, mate, because some of you of your faith did it. But whenever a Muslim individual does something, we go to all Muslims and say, hey, mate, we need a statement on you, renouncing jihadi, renouncing FGM, renouncing this. The Muslim faith has
can I reply,
1.2
Ollie?
billion people. You're expecting all of them to pay for the crimes of a minute, simple. Yes.
So the characterizations and strawmans that Ollie has used in her rhetoric are numerous. Firstly, she accuses me of generalizing about Muslims, when anyone who actually listened to what I said heard me very distinctly say that not all Muslims are the same, and that there is a distinction between what the religion teaches vis-a-vis necessarily what the individual does. But she ignored that. She ignored that. Well, people can see it on camera, can't they? They can see it on camera. Secondly, she goes on to say that I and people like me go round to all Muslims demanding that they apologise for every time that there's a terrorist attack. Utter lie. Complete lie. I've never done that. I've never met a Christian who does that either. She's just using characterizations. Now please notice the liberal progressive talked about listening and she's now ignoring. Just another example of their kind of virtue signalling hypocrisy. Now, furthermore,
Yeah, everybody is hypocrite, but
furthermore,
except him, who never answer a question.
furthermore,
And he just go around for
Furthermore,
This is
Furthermore, so then she goes on to talk about the Christian faith and Bible passages, one of which she generalized as if all Christians believe this. The woman is ignorant of the topic she's talking about. because Christians read the Bible through a covenant matrix. The Old Testament belongs to the Old Covenant. Christians do not follow the Old Covenant. If she was anything other than another virtue-signaling ignorant progressive, she would not have made that generalization about what Christians believe. She would have had the intelligence to know that Christians follow the New Testament because we are a new covenant people.
As the New Testament
Finally.
rely on the innocent
Finally.
blood of Jesus Christ,
Finally.
which he was crucified,
Finally.
humiliated on the cross, and the
There
Father,
you go.
he accepted.
Yo loves to be in front of the camera. He loves to be in front of the camera. We love you, Yaya. But let me and her talk. Let me and her talk.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
So, I would like, she says, why do we not protest? Why do we protest about when LGBT suffer in places like Uganda? Now, this is the economy of injustices and the economy of solidarity that she appealed to earlier. I do not stand against the prejudice faced by Christians in other countries because I'm a British citizen. Well, I'm a Christian, and Christians in this country have been the victim of LGBT militants who have gone out to try and ruin their businesses, have gone out and tried to ruin their lives, and there are countless examples of them doing so. When that injustice is dealt with here, then let's talk about what's happening in Uganda. And no, I don't agree with LGBT being killed at all, anywhere. Incidentally, Islam prescribes the death penalty for LGBT. I wonder if she'll be protesting against that anytime soon. Off the roof! Off the roof! Chuck them off the roof! Or burn them alive! That's another punishment.
Are you okay with the gay men?
Are you okay with that?
Sweetie,
Off the roof.
sweetie, calm down.
I'm
Let
not
me
off the roof.
respond.
I know you're sweet, you love it.
Well, you know.
Let the lady speak.
Okay, my first point, if everyone could just be a bit calm.
And another gay man off a roof somewhere in the Muslim world.
Ollie, people will help you here. It's just a thing. You just got to talk.
I know that. My point is did I ever once defend the point of Islam? I never said Islam was a completely innocent book. I was saying it's interesting how this man and his supporters are cherry picking what they want from groups they don't like in order to vilify them. You were talking about, I never once said, oh, everything in the Quran is great, Islam has no issues. I never said that. It's interesting how you assume my ignorance, good sir. That proves your prejudice. Anyway.
Your ignorance is on display.
Leviticus
Honey, if I wanted your advice,
20:13.
I'd ask you.
Anyway.
Kill homosexual and lesbian, put them to death. This is according to your
Testament or New
Bible.
Testament?
Old Testament. And as Jesus, he came to not abolish this
Let the
law.
lady speak. I'm
no.
talking to Ollie.
Ollie,
let her talk.
Okay, and
context.
and also you talk about
Context.
Can we just see this badge?
yeah. Which badge? This
The
one?
Free Palestine one.
Yeah.
Because she only protests about things in this country.
I never. Let me just
Changing
finish.
the topic now.
Let me
Only
just
protests
finish.
about things in this country.
Okay, it's interesting how you're changing the topic and actually instead of actually listening to me, which is something you criticised me for earlier. So if you're going to criticise me for something, at least hold up to your own very feeble standards. Okay, moving on. I never said for 1 second that the Quran was an entirely good or sacred book. I never said that anything was great. All I was pointing out is that you were cherry picking what you want from certain holy books to make an answer. And moving on to your very interesting point about Christians in this country being persecuted by LGBT militants. I'm a member of the LGBT community. I must have missed that meeting when we decided to form a military. Okay, so what you're talking about when you talk about kind of Christians being persecuted by LGBT people, I've got a question.
I didn't say people, I said militants.
Militants.
I know
okay.
lots of people who are LGBT that wouldn't dream of doing that.
I know, and you're not racist because you have a black friend. Anyway, let me continue.
I do actually. I do. It's right. She's right. I am not a racist, and I do have a black friend.
Let me continue.
Captain Bloodfire.
This is my brother, by the way. This is my brother in the faith. Am I a racist? You're not
related.
Am I a racist?
Did I ever say you were?
You tried to insinuate it.
I was saying that excuse is saying, oh, I can't be prejudiced against a certain group of people because I have a friend in this group.
An excuse that I never made.
It's something as odd.
He hasn't listened to a word you've said.
Oh, I have. That's why I've responded to it. That I've responded to it.
Okay,
Of course you did.
okay, if we're going to interrupt each other, you boys can go have fun. Let me just finish my point right here. My point.
Hold on, don't assume my gender.
Oh yeah. You assumed our genders. Not very progressive.
Okay,
Not very progressive.
Okay, it's interesting that you instantly assume I'm some sort of progressive liberal when I've never really stated my political. I've never really said which party
I'll
I
bet
belong
money
to.
on it.
But anyway, let me continue my point. My point here is that when we talk about Islamophobia in this country, and when we're talking about a group of Muslim people being oppressed, we're not saying that suddenly all Muslim people are innately holier than everyone else, or innately good, or innately better. Same when we're talking about black people in this country. When we say Black Lives Matter, when we say we want equality, we're not saying that suddenly they are better than everyone else. And what's very interesting is when you talk to privileged people about equality, they suddenly get terrified because they are terrified at the prospect of being remotely oppressed in any sense of the word. And this shows how privileged they are. When the idea of giving up any privilege they have suddenly sounds like oppression to them. And so I just find it kind of remarkable that you're cherry picking these arguments, you're not really responding to me, you're screaming about, Islam and things like that, and you're screaming about the Old Testament and punishments in the Middle East against gay people, and suddenly I'm for them. Yeah, sure, as a queer person myself, I'm clearly very for gays in Saudi Arabia being thrown off bridges. I will tell you when you're ready to reply. So,
We'll let you finish your point.
my final point is this. What I find in this debate is that you have your pre-prepared notes, you have your pre-prepared lectures, which is fine. But you're not really answering me. You like to twist and cherry pick and change what you want to make your argument, and you're not actually listening to people. And this is what I find with people of your political persuasion. Instead of trying to listen and advocate for equality, to you suddenly you have to twist equality into something that sounds like oppression for the white man. When no one's ever said let's oppress the white man, no one's ever said let's go against Christians, and that's it sounds
Okay,
like.
can I reply now?
Yes.
Ollie, I do find it funny that Ollie's initial excuse for not standing up against Christophobia, and I'd be interested to know if she believes it even exists. Not standing up to Christophobia that exists right across the Islamic world is because she says, I'm a citizen of this country, and yet she's wearing a badge saying Free Palestine. So she clearly is involved in political activism connected to other countries. So what we're really saying is,
the freedom of expression.
of course it is, I don't want to stand up to Christophobia in the Islamic world because that doesn't serve my particular set of prejudices.
No, he just talked about Islamic
And
world.
what we see from the liberal progressive left is the simple use of straw man and villainization. Villainization. She doesn't even know that my political viewpoint sits both across the left and the right, because a Christian worldview sits across the left and the right. She used tropes based upon the Old Testament in complete ignorance of the fact that Christians use a covenant system to read the Bible. These kind of stereotypes and these kind of characterizations are very widespread amongst people who have the liberal progressive agenda. That is the way that they operate. Villainization, characterization, assassination. And they simply ignore facts because facts are inconvenient. Fact is, she talks about freeing Palestine. Does she know that Christians are persecuted
by Palestinian Muslims? Does she know that Christians suffer because of the policies of Israel? They get it twice. Once because they're not part of the Jewish state, and once because they're Christians in a Muslim majority. Will she stand against that? Will she speak against that? No, I said on record, she may have not heard me, that I'm against killing LGBT anywhere in the world. Let me ask you, are you against the idea of killing Muslims who want to become Christian?
Okay,
I need to ask.
you kind of clearly so lost.
Look, I'm an Arab, yeah? We live side by side, Christians, Muslims, no problem.
Yeah, let me just. Let me just.
Tell that to the Assyrian Christians and the Armenian Christians who suffered a genocide in 1915
Okay.
and in 2012 or 13 when ISIS went out to butcher them.
Okay.
Live side by side.
Okay, what?
He says that I'm a liar.
Yeah.
What about the Christians in those Iraqi cities who said that their neighbours turned against them?
Wow, okay.
They're on record. They're on camera.
If you're gonna lecture, I'm just gonna leave.
Go on, Ollie.
That is a political thing, not a
Excuse me, can I just finish my point?
I'm just telling you he's a liar because I'm an Arab. We have the adoption.
You don't want to batting and let me do the record, bro.
He's a
So
liar.
walk away, bro.
And be quiet, I'm
Walk
speaking
away.
to you. You did
Aye.
it to the Christians, why won't you do it to the Muslims?
Because that one was being a dickhead. Anyway,
And he's not.
so let me. Okay, so I find it interesting that because of my badge, you've suddenly gone off on this crazy little. I wasn't here to debate Palestine. If you want to, you'll have to book an appointment. I'm rather busy and quite tired right now. So, you're saying, am I against the killing of Christians? Yes, I support human rights. I'm against, the killing of anyone based on their political beliefs. But what we are talking about, and why I originally came to speak to you about, is because you seem to be ignoring the inherent Islamophobia that many Muslims face in this country. And yes, it's horrible that Christians are getting killed, but you point out the Armenian genocide, you point out ISIS in 2013. Yes, these are all awful, terrible, terrible things. The thing is that you seem to talk like Islam is inherently a religion that cannot live side by side with other religions.
Correct.
When you believe that Islam that's interesting because the Ottoman Empire managed to do that for about 600 years.
Do you know anything about the Ottoman Empire?
I know.
Do you know that they took 2 million Christian children as slaves, kidnapped them from their families? You don't, do you? You don't know nothing about the Ottoman Empire.
If you let me finish my point.
Do you know that during the Ottoman Empire, Christian Copts were regularly attacked in the street? That they had to wear special clothing that identified them as Christians, a bit like a Jewish star, in Nazi Germany. Did you know that? You didn't, did you? You don't know nothing about the Ottoman Empire. You don't know nothing about what they did to Eastern Europe.
What were you going to say about the Ottoman Empire?
Let me finish my point. I'm saying.
Go on, about the Ottoman Empire.
Yeah,
How wonderful it was.
I never said the Ottoman Empire. I was saying that there were many cities throughout the Ottoman Empire and throughout the Islamic Golden Age in which Christians, Jewish, and Muslim people all lived together. Yes, it did. The Baghdad House of Wisdom, for example, to which we owe algebra, to which we owe lemons, to which we owe all that.
Which they took from the Hindus. And India. But you didn't know that either, did you?
Did you know that India was Muslim for a very long time?
No,
too?
it was Hindu. Well, the
about
religions that came to make up Hinduism.
Well, see,
They invaded India. It was one of the biggest mass murders ever in history.
Didn't the Christians invade Africa?
The Christians.
Oh no, we forgot about that.
No,
of course,
bro.
Christians are so innocent, aren't they?
Ignorant. Let me correct you.
South America.
Ignorant. Let me correct you. Ignorant. Let me
Australia,
correct
New
you.
Zealand,
Ignorant.
America.
Let me correct you about history.
On and on.
It was called the Roman Empire and the Christians converted it. They were the ones that controlled North Africa. So no, ignorant, Christians did not invade North Africa.
Masking
So
the tribes
what I
and
find
killing them and
interesting, what I
forcing them
find
to become
interesting
Christians.
here is that you seem completely either ignorant, unwilling, or unable to comprehend the fact that it's not purely religion that drives people to commit atrocities. It's greed, Well, if you want to talk about what the Ottoman Empire did, I never said the Ottoman Empire
You
was
were
amazing.
about
I was saying there was evidence of many Muslims, of many Jews, of many Christians living together in harmony, and you can see that.
Harmony?
In
Do you know
London.
anything about Dimitude, love?
Can I-
Harmony? Do you know anything about Dimitude? Do you know what they did to Christians? Christians could not practice their faith publicly. Christians could not ring their bells. Christians could not go on their processions. Christian men couldn't marry Muslim women.
Like I said-
Muslims couldn't become Christians. Christians couldn't evangelize. They had to pay a tax.
Excuse
They
me,
had
sir,
to
you're
pay
the
a
one-
tax.
You're the one going
They
after
had to
people
pay a
for
tax
interrupting
to
everyone, yet you're
stop
more than
their
happy to interrupt me
children
and
from
talk over
being
me,
kidnapped.
which
From being kidnapped.
about
And you're
LGBT
saying,
community,
oh,
you're obsessed
they
with
lived
Muslims,
in
she's talking
harmony.
about the LGBT
Get
community.
out of your Walt Disney version of history. Go and pick up a book. Read the hagiographies, look at the Christian martyrs and how many Christians were killed because they wouldn't embrace Islam.
I've got a
Go and
question.
look those
the
things
Great
up.
Dying, was that a fault of Christians? Just a quick question. The Great. Oh,
The what?
someone needs to pick up a book and learn history now.
The
Oh
what?
no!
No, I
I
didn't hear
thought
the
I was the
term.
ignorant one.
I didn't hear
the
your
Great
term.
Dying.
The Great Dying. This is not a term I've heard before.
Oh,
I
a
don't know
Great
what you're
Dying
referring
because
to.
of the Columbian Exchange, in which 90% of the indigenous population of America was wiped out in one of the largest mass genocides
Why?
in human history.
Why? Because of disease.
Not because
Because of disease.
because of massacres, because of things
Yes,
like
those happened as well,
about the
but the
Native
vast
Americans in
majority
Canada
of
and
those
America and Australia
He's
and
Latin
Aborigines.
American, you muppet. The Latin Americans,
talking about him.
what happened in Latin America was
Okay,
a travesty,
mate, you're
was a
gonna go
travesty,
and talk to
and
your little
Christians
YouTube
in the
channel.
time
I'm
spoke
gonna
out
head off.
against it. You don't know. Go and look up the Franciscans and the Dominicans. They were opposed to what the colonialists were doing to the
Okay,
natives.
so Christians speaking up against
You
that
don't
matter,
know.
but now Muslims speaking
You
up
don't know.
against jihadis
But now let
don't
me ask you a
matter.
question.
No,
Let me ask you a
I'm not
question.
going to let you ask me a
Yeah, I'm
question
going to
because
ask you a question
haven't let
anyway.
me speak. You haven't
You
let
have
me debate.
said-
You've constantly interrupted me. If
So
you want
have
to go
you.
off for your
That's
little
fine.
YouTube channel and have fun,
You have
I'm going
said-
to do that. I've actually got
You
stuff
have
to do
said-
today. You're clearly
have
not
said
interested in having a debate. You're clearly interested in
I answered your question.
So
You
why
said you're opposed to
have a life?
apostasy laws. There you go, liberal progressive. Runs away. All the time.
Oh, and by the way, Black Lives Matter. Stop this up.
Rafa, Bob.
How can that kind of cognitive dissonance, like how can you even entertain it? And yet so many people do, as you've just seen. What you just saw was a perfect example of rhetoric, of excuses, and of the villainization of the white working class Christian. Yeah, because we're white working class and Christian. Now, the reality is, there are injustices, too many injustices for any one person to stand against. So I would set this challenge for you as Christians. What kind of injustices do you need to stand up against? Don't you need to stand up for your brothers and sisters who are having their businesses ruined, being chucked off university courses, having their employment ruined? Shouldn't you be standing up for the fact that Christians in places like Central African Republic are being killed? In Nigeria, they're being wiped out. Shouldn't you stand up for the Christians in Iraq and Syria who are fighting for a homeland of their own? Yeah. So, or shouldn't you stand up for the Christians? Shouldn't you fight against for the Christians? Shouldn't you fight against Christians who are dying in Pakistan from persecution? Shouldn't you stand up for the Christians in Burma who are fighting for their own homeland? Shouldn't you stand up for the Christians in North Korea? Shouldn't you stand up for the Christians in China? You need to form networks of solidarity. You need to start backing one another, and you need to start drawing in people to our causes. The reason why we are constantly being outmaneuvered is because we have zero political narrative, we are not strategizing, and we make enemies of people that could become allies. We are not seeking to make allies when we should be making allies and drawing people in to our causes. That is one of the secrets of the left, and one of their great successes is that they have been able to draw people into their causes. You fight for my cause, I fight for your cause. That's what we need to start doing as a church. and we need to start standing up for our own causes. If you don't tell your history, others, like this lady, will try to tell your history for you. She tried to tell a lying history, a history of the Ottoman Empire being this wonderful, tolerant thing, until she got called out on it. And then she had nothing to say. She had nothing to say. Yeah? So, there you go. Brothers, you've got to choose. Got to choose. You've got to stand up for yourself, or you've got to become a doormat. You take the choice.
Praise the Lord. Thank you.
Praise the Lord.
Thank you.
Who did?
You went there and changed people's way of living.
Who did? Who did? Did the Ottomans do that?
They let people be
Did the
themselves.
Ottomans? No,
They
didn't.
let people be
No,
themselves.
they
They
didn't.
did.
You're lying. You're an ignorant man.
You're an ignorant man. You're a psychopath.
No, what they did is, I'll tell you what they did.
You're an innocent psychopath.
Christians ring bells. The Ottomans stopped us from doing that. Is that letting us? Is that letting
What
us?
happened in
Church
Nicaea
bells.
conference?
Church
What happened in
bells.
Nicaea conference?
Is
What
that
happened in Nicaea
allowing
conference?
us to be
What
ourselves?
happened in Nicaea conference?
Can you
325
answer?
AD.
Can you
What
answer
hap-
the question?
Get out of here. What happened in 325 AD in Nicaea conference?
Can you answer the
What
question?
happened in 325 AD in
We'll do
Nicaea
a question
conference?
for a question. I'll
I'm
answer
not.
one of
I'm
yours,
talking to you.
answer
I'm not.
one of mine.
I'm talking to you.
Never.
I'm Big
I'm
Daddy.
talking to you as well.
I'm Big Daddy.
Great. Good for
You have a
Nice
history.
to
You
meet
have a
Big
crazy
Daddy.
history.
My name's
Your
Bob.
history is crazy.
Whose
Don't
history? Christian history.
forget stories.
Christian history.
You know what I'm saying? I'm
No,
talking
I
in
don't know
riddles.
what you're saying. I'm
I'm talking
asking
to you
you to
because you have your
clarify.
MI5 here.
I'm asking
I'm
you
talking
to
in riddles,
clarify.
yeah? I'm a politician by blood. My
Right,
grandfather was a
brilliant.
politician.
Great.
So
Talk like a politician then.
that's what.
So answer my
I
question.
don't want to be a politician.
So I thought you were a politician.
I was born into politics. But I
Brilliant.
don't want to be a
So
politician. It's
answer
a
my
game.
question
Politics is
then.
a game, and you're a politician.
No,
You're
I'm a
playing game here.
Christian. No, I'm a
You're
Christian.
looking for numbers. You look for numbers,
No,
not
I'm
the
a
truth.
Christian, bro.
Let's say the truth, not numbers.
You
look for numbers.
started with a lie.
What lie?
You
What
said
lie?
that the Ottomans allowed people to
Yes.
get on with it. No,
Yes.
they
Be
didn't.
their way of life.
Did they do that when they kidnapped their kids?
You know what, kids?
Exactly.
What
we don't
did-
know.
what did you do?
Did they do that
What
when they
did you
stopped
do?
them doing their processions?
What did you do?
No, they didn't. Did they?
What did you do?
Did they do that when
What
they
did
said?
you do? You're talking
Did they
about
do that when they
you're
passed
pointing
the
fingers.
law?
Look.
Did
Freeze
they
pointing
do
back
that
at
when
you.
they passed the
Look,
law?
Freeze pointing back at
that
you.
said
What
the
did you do?
Patriarch of
What did you do?
Constantinople
What did-
couldn't be
forget
anyone
story.
but someone who
What
lived
did
inside
you
the Ottoman
do?
Empire?
What did you
Or
do?
when the caliphs
Forget
appointed
story. What did
bishops
you do?
and patriarchs?
Eh?
No,
A
they
killer
didn't.
How can I call
You
someone a
haven't got a
killer?
clue what
How
you're
can I
talking
call someone a
about.
killer when I'm a killer?
You have got nothing.
How can I call someone a killer when
All
I'm a
you've
killer?
got is verbose
How can I
noise
call someone a
and
killer when I'm a
rhetoric.
killer? How can you call someone a killer when you're the biggest killer?
Bro, are you talking to me as a Christian?
You know what time it is.
No, I really don't. I'm asking you
Forget
to
story.
clarify.
You know what time
I
it
think
is.
what you're really
You're
saying
hiding
is-
behind
you're saying
Christianity.
this
You're
because
hiding
I'm
behind
white.
Christianity. Forget
It's
story.
because I'm white, isn't
Forget
it?
story. You're hiding
I'm
behind
asking you,
Christianity.
is it because I'm
You're
white?
hiding behind Christianity. Forget
Your
story.
narrative,
Don't play
is it
politics.
based
You
on
play
the
for
fact
narrative,
that I'm
narrative,
white?
narrative. You play
I'm
politics.
asking you.
What did you do? Why are you talking
I'm
about the
asking
Ottoman?
you. When you say you, who's
Why are you
you?
talking about the Ottoman?
Who's you?
Why are you talking about the Ottoman?
I'm talking about the people that persecuted
Who are the
Christians.
who are the Ottoman?
The Ottomans were Turkish
Yeah, I
Muslims
know.
who
Who are the
persecuted
Ottomans? Yeah,
Christians.
who are they?
I've just answered
What
you.
race of people are they?
They're Turkish.
Are they white?
And they persecuted
Are
Christians.
they white?
No, they're not.
But why are you talking against them?
Yeah, because they persecuted Christians.
Christians never
They
persecuted nobody.
persecuted
Christians never
Christians.
persecuted nobody.
No, we're not faultless. We've done our
What happened
wrongs.
to the Gnostics?
We've done our wrongs.
What happened to the Gnostics?
I'm not defending it. I'm
Yeah,
saying.
he's talking. If I
I'm
was a
saying.
retard, if I was a
I'm
retard,
saying.
you could play around me.
No, bro.
Listen,
No,
I
bro.
have a
You're the
50 years
one.
great history.
Yeah, great for
Kingship.
you. Great for you. Good.
Me, I
Now,
know,
brilliant.
kingship.
Fantastic.
I'll
so
take you to my land.
why
I'm a
did you
kingship.
lie?
What lie?
Why did you
Why
lie
did you lie?
when
That
you
is-
said that the
it's that
Ottomans
is
didn't
Eurocentric way of way.
persecute
It's Eurocentric way.
Christians?
Why did you lie?
Why did you lie?
You said you killed as well.
Why did you lie?
Well, a killer should never call somebody as a killer.
Why did you lie?
Why should a killer call someone
Okay,
as a killer?
there's no point talking about
Why
it.
should a killer call
It's
someone
incoherent.
as a killer?
It's incoherent.
Why should a killer call someone as a killer?
Anyway, guys, there you go.
Cool. Bye.
Take care, King. Nice to meet
Your
you.
history is a killer history. You killed around the world.
Thank you. God
You
bless.
went to India, you went to America and killed everybody. You got people looting. You looted the whole fucking continent. You even killed people. They looted the continent.
In the name of Christ.
They looted the continent. Get out of here. It's a madman. Whenever they're talking, you're talking and they're listening.